and there's so much to learn when it comes to real estate. I'm still learning different things. My eyes are being open to different things. So tonight's training is really going to be the basics to open your eyes to the real estate industry. So then I'm sure you're going to have questions. There's going to be more. We're going to debunk some of the myths about real estate as well. And we're just going to get into it. It's a lot to dig into. If I really gave y'all like a real course, we would be here for a whole week for 3 hours a day, just to really get you in. But this is really going to be the basics, just to get your feet wet, just so you can kind of understand the basics. And I believe it'll give you a foundation so that you can become a real estate investor. So I entitled this presentation, Possess the Land, because I am a believer. I consider myself to be a kingdom entrepreneur. I didn't put this in my bio, but I actually wrote a book and it's called The Kingdom Entrepreneur. It was #1 on Amazon best-selling list. And I do believe that as believers, I feel like we should be able to build wealth, right?
Danita, if you can hear me, I think we lost your audio and your video.
Verses that I pulled, a lot of times when you read the word of God, it tells you how to be an entrepreneur. It gives you strategies. It gives you, wisdom on what to do as an entrepreneur, as an investor, and how to build wealth. So these were the verses that I found. One is Numbers 33 and 53 from the New Living Translation. It says, "Take possession of the land and settle in it, because I have given it to you to occupy." I do believe that God has put us here, on this earth, and he's given us dominion, right, over the earth, which means that we should dominate, right? And so even with my book, The Kingdom Entrepreneur, the subtitle is Partnering with God to Dominate the Marketplace. And I believe as believers, that is what we should be doing so that we can fund our own kingdom projects, right? Then another one, Proverbs 31 and 16. We know about the Proverbs 31 woman. She did all these amazing things, but she was an investor. She was a real estate investor. It says she goes to inspect a field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Y'all, she was smart. She took care of home, but she also knew how to make a coin, okay? She knew how to make a coin. So Proverbs 31 and 16. And then lastly, leaving an inheritance for your family begins with owning land. Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. So I wanted to bring these Bible verses out because when we talk about investing in real estate, and we talk about building wealth, y'all, this is kingdom. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is one of the things that we should be doing as believers. All right, so here we go. Territory. One of the things, and I'm trying to see if I can move this out of the way because I can't see my slide. Hold on. Where is the mouse? Okay, all right, we're just gonna roll with it. All right, so definitely the territory, right? God wants us to take territory. So territory, the definition of territory is an area of land under the jurisdiction of ruler or state. So, and I don't want to get too deep, but I do believe that when we possess territory, physical territory, we're also possessing spiritual territory as well. And I can just tell you guys, the properties that I own, the commercial property, the residential properties that I own, I pray over my properties. I pray over the properties and I pray blessings over them. And I want the people who come to my properties to be blessed. Can you imagine if believers, we own so much property and so much land, and we bless the land, we bless the territories that we own, that the people who walk upon our territory would be blessed, right? So this is what I believe, that God wants us to have territory, have jurisdiction, to be rulers over particular territories. And it begins with real estate. It begins with investing in real estate and owning the land. And one of the things I do want you guys to understand, because a lot of times people think, well, you know, I don't even own one house yet, right? And that's okay, because you need to understand that even when you're ready to buy your first home, it is not your, don't look at it as your forever home. Don't look at it as, you know, you have to get the biggest house, or, you know, get what you can afford, and understand that even the home that you live in is an investment. Even the home that you live in is an investment. Okay, so we want to get, that's the type of mentality that you have to carry in order to build wealth and in order to acquire more territory. So some of the things, basically, we want to make sure that we educate ourselves. We want to educate ourselves when it comes to possessing the land. You know, when it comes to us investing in real estate, you want to invest in yourself. I believe those of you who signed up for this course tonight, if you registered tonight, you're taking the first steps to educate yourself. When I say investing in yourself, I mean, like, it's okay to pay to take a course, right? When it comes to trying to purchase a home or trying to invest in real estate, you want to invest in yourself. And then when we take these courses, when we go to these seminars, we need to take action. Because I've seen so many times where people will go to all these conferences, they'll learn all this great stuff, they'll take all these amazing notes, and then they do nothing with it. So I want you guys to make sure that once you get this information, that you actually take some action. We want to build our credit, y'all. We want to build our credit because, and I know that, you know, there's some people say that, you know, you should pay cash for everything. But when it comes to real estate, I believe that having real estate debt is a good debt, right? Because that particular asset is an asset, and it will continue to keep on giving. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? With the equity in the property. And we're going to talk about that. And then we just want to make wise decisions, okay? So we're going to talk about this right here is a real life scenario. This is a real life scenario of one of my previous clients that I used to work with. One of them was a renter, right? And one was a home buyer. So I changed the names to protect the innocent, okay? So Sally buys a home for $150,000. Her mortgage is $1,050. And let me see if I can move this out of the way so I can see you guys. I'm trying, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. I'm trying to move the box. Hold on. Do this. Okay, there we go. Hold on, y'all. I got to get this right. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. And where is it? All right, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. All right, there we go. All right, so Sally buys a home for $150,000. Her mortgage is $1,050 per month. Brenda rents a home for $1,050 per month. Y'all, this is a real live situation. Somebody I helped to find a rental and somebody that I helped to buy a house, both at the same time. All right. So after paying her mortgage on time for 10 years, Sally now owes $135,000 on her 30-year mortgage. She decides that she wants to upgrade. Her home has increased in value and it's now worth $210,000. She sells her home and she walks away with $75,000. Brenda rents her home and pays the $1,050 per month for 10 years, When Brenda moves in, she paid a security deposit of $1,050. So she had to do her security deposit and the first month's rent. Brenda rent has increased every 2 years by $10. So after 10 years, her rent is now $1,100 per month. And she has given her landlord a total of $128,370. She decides to move, and Brenda walks away with $378.50 because the landlord deducts from her deposit for items that needed to be repaired. So guys, this is a real life scenario. 10 years of paying rent. And then when it's time to move, there's nothing to show for it. And so you see with Sally's, with her example, she bought that house for $150,000. She paid the mortgage on time. She was able to pay it down a little bit, but her home increased in value because over the years, the particular neighborhood where she was living, those houses went up in value. So that means that her house also goes up in value. And because of that, when she sells her house and she's ready to move and get an upgrade, she's walking away with $75,000. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's still an investment. Even though it's the house that you're living in, you can still benefit from owning a home and having equity in your property. So I want to just kind of debunk some of the home buying myths. You know, you do not need a large down payment to purchase a home. You do not have to have a perfect credit score. It doesn't take a long time to buy a home. I mean, the home buying process, once you actually find the home, it could be anywhere between 30 to 45 days. That's it, 30 to 45 days. Once we find the house that you want to put an offer in, 30 to 45 days. And even if you've had a foreclosure or bankruptcy in the past, you can still buy a home. It doesn't mean that it's over, it's done for you. No, you can still purchase a home even after a foreclosure or bankruptcy. Now let's talk about some key terms in real estate. So you have equity, right? And that's what we talked about with Sally's example. The reason why she bought her house for $150, she paid it down to $135. The value went up to $210. That's her equity in her home. So basically it's the difference between what you owe on the home and what your property is currently worth. So we took that $210,000, we subtracted it from what she owes, which was $135, and that's where we got the $75,000 profit that she made on her property that she lived in for 10 years. So even when you purchase a home, you're still a home investor. And what some people do when they have properties that they live in, sometimes they can take the equity out, do like a HELOC, a line of credit from their property. They can take those funds and put it into another asset, right? Which could be another property, an investment property. Okay, so that's something that, you know, I'm a firm believer on not just having large sums of money sit in the bank. It makes no sense, right? Real estate is one of the safest investments that you could actually do, right? And then you guys are going to talk about crypto on the next one, which is really good. I'm not a crypto expert, but I do have some cryptocurrency as well. But I'm just a firm believer in putting your money into another asset or putting it into something that is going to give you a greater return than you just letting it sit in the bank, especially large sums of money, and you're not doing anything with it. Put it into a property if you can, you know, purchase a property. But I will say you want to be educated on what to do, because just because you buy a property doesn't mean that you necessarily know what to do with it so that it is profitable for you. All right, due diligence. A due diligence period is the period that you get when you're purchasing a property to be able to do your research on the property, to see, you know, you can get a home inspection. You know, you can, you know, see what the neighborhoods are all about, see what the schools are all about. It's just a period where you do research on the property to give you time. Even though you get it under contract, you can still get out of the contract if for some reason the home inspection is a bust, or, you know, after you've done your research, you don't want to get this property anymore. So you have a due diligence period. The appraised value is basically the value that when the appraiser comes in and they evaluate your home. Basically what they do is they look at the comparables or the properties that are around your home within 5 miles, a 5-mile radius of your home in the same neighborhood, and homes that are comparable to yours. So if it's a 2-bedroom home with 2 baths, then they're going to be comparing homes that are in that same genre. So 2 bedrooms compared to 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms compared to 3 bedrooms to determine the value. And an appraised value it only lasts for 6 months. So in the appraisal world, in the real estate world, you can say, oh, well, I got a appraisal done on my property 5 years ago, and it was this. Well, that appraisal is no longer valid. You have to, because the real estate market is constantly changing. It's cyclical. It goes in a cycle, right? And so every 6 months is when an appraiser or the appraised value changes. So then you have the assessed value. The assessed value is what the city uses to determine how much they're going to charge you for taxes, right? So you can actually challenge your assessed value with your appraised value. And so this is something I tell my clients. Let's say you purchase a home and the taxes on that property are really high because they've assessed the value at, let's just say, $200,000. But when you get the appraisal and you got your appraisal done, within that 6-month period, and the appraisal is $150,000, the appraised value, you can actually contest the assessed value so that your taxes can be lowered on your property. So the difference between the appraised value and the assessed value, the only difference is that the assessed value, they are using that value to determine what they're going to charge you for your taxes on that property. The appraised value is where the appraiser actually comes in and he will he would look at the comparables in the neighborhood, compare the subject property to the homes that are in that neighborhood and what they have sold for in the last 6 months. And that's how they're going to determine that value. All right, EMD, which stands for earnest money deposit. This is what you put down when you're purchasing a home. It's not to be confused as a down payment, but it's just a good faith measure to say, hey, I'm serious about this offer that I'm putting in. And that money is held for you in an escrow account until you close on the property. And that money can go towards your down payment or your closing costs, whichever you prefer. All right, so financing your home, and this is, and I'm just gonna go through these because this is not my forte, but I just want to give you some of these terms so you understand, because a lot of times when you're buying a home, you'll hear these things. So you have your loan to value, right? You have your debt to income ratio, which the debt to income ratio is basically how the lender is going to determine how much money or how much of a home you can afford. So it's your debt, it's how much debt you have going out versus how much income you have coming in. That's the ratio, the debt to income ratio. And of course, another thing that they're looking at is your credit score, for sure. Depending upon what lender you use, they're going to require a certain credit score. So I wanted to kind of just give you a brief chart on how your credit works. A lot of people don't really know this and understand it, but 35% of your credit score is derived from your payment history. How do you pay your bills? Are you paying your bills on time? So a lot of times if you pay something late, that's what really drives your credit score to go down. But then also another huge factor, 30%, is the amount that you owe. So when you have large amounts of debt, it can cause your credit score to go down. That's one of the reasons why if you make a large purchase, like you buy a car, sometimes your credit score will plummet because you're now adding a huge amount of debt to your credit profile. So we got our payment history, which is 35%. So we want to make sure we pay everything on time. And then the amount that is owed. So that's why if you have credit card debt, you have a lot of credit cards, you want to keep your credit card balances below 30%. So in other words, if I have a credit card that's $100, $100 limit, and this is just to give you an example, I don't want to spend over $30 on that card, because once I start to go past that 30% mark, it's going to cause my credit score to drop. All right, then you have 10% is new credit. So when you get something new on your credit score, on your credit profile, 10%. 15% is the length of credit history. So depending upon how long you have those accounts, that's why we say never close any credit accounts, even if you're not using them anymore. You don't want to close them, because when you close them, now you lose that credit history. You lose that 15% of the good stuff that's going on with your credit score. You would now lose that, and it could cause your credit to go down, your credit score to go down. And then 10% is the credit mix. You know, what do you have? You have a car, you have credit cards, you have a house, the mix of credit that you have on your report. All right, so now guys, let's get, what you just got was just the basics, all right? So now let's get into some key terms in real estate investing. Depending upon, now let me just say this, everybody is not built to be a flipper, okay? Everybody's not built to be a flipper. However, you just want to know there's more than one way to invest in real estate. You don't have to be the one that's actually out here flipping houses. You can, though, you know, and we'll just talk about some of the different ways of investing in real estate. So one of them is buying and holding. So when you purchase a property that you're not going to flip, but maybe you're going to rent it out, right? And because you're renting that property out, you're still receiving a income from that property, because you ultimately, when you rent it out, you want the rent that, or the mortgage, if there is a mortgage on it, you want the mortgage to be less than what you're renting it out, so you're making a profit every month. And that's what we call getting passive income. Passive income is where you're not working, you're not physically working, you're not doing anything, but you are getting income, right? All right, so then you have flipping homes. So when you are flipping homes, one of the things, and I'll just give you guys the basic formula if y'all want to write this down. Whenever you decide that you want to flip a home, you want to make sure the property that you're going to choose, that it is 65%, that you can purchase that property and renovate it for 65% of the after repair value. So let me explain to you what that means. Basically, let's say you're in a neighborhood where the homes are going for the homes are going for 200,000. I'm just using simple numbers so I can do the math quick in my head. All right, $200,000, you're in this neighborhood and you see this ugly house, really ugly house on the corner, but they only want $60,000 for that house, right? And you know that you can sell this house for $200,000. Okay, so you go in, you look at it, and you say, well, even though I can sell this house for $200,000, it still needs at least $50,000 in work, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the $200,000, because you know that's what you can get for it after you fix it up. You're going to multiply that by 65% or 0.65, and that gives you $130,000. Okay, so that number is your budget, and that number is the number that you cannot go over if you want to make at least a 30 to 35% profit or higher. Okay, so at the 130 though, you have to be able to purchase the home and you have to be able to fix it up. So we said that they want to sell it for 60, and you're going to need to put at least 50,000 into it to get it up to par. So let's see. So guess what? You're $20,000 under budget. Okay, so 60,000 and 50,000 together is 110,000, but your budget is 130. And the reason why it's 130 is because we use 65% of it's called ARV, or after repair value, to determine, to give you that number. So you know, hey, what, if I'm looking for a house, what should I be looking for? That's what you're looking for. It's the numbers that matter when you're flipping homes, okay? And so the term, when I say after repair value, the synonym is, I'm sorry, not synonym, but the acronym is ARV, after repair value. And then that's how you're able to determine your return on investment when it comes to flipping homes. Now, we come to this term comparables. It's so important for you to understand comparables when it comes to real estate investing, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how nice the house is on the inside. It doesn't matter, you know, what we got a new hot water heater last year. It doesn't matter that you installed new carpeting or you put this huge deck on the back of your home. At the end of the day, the base value of your home is going to be derived by the comparables in your neighborhood, right? So and this is the same thing that the appraisers do. They look at the homes that have sold in the neighborhood in the last 6 months comparable to the subject property. So as a real estate investor, you need to be able to do this too. You need to be able to look at the comparables. So that's how you're going to determine your ARV, or your after repair value. You're going to look at homes that have sold in that neighborhood, okay, in the last 6 months, and even if you could find some even before 6 months. So like, 3 months, 90 days, 60 days, that's even better. But you don't want to go beyond 6 months, and you don't want to go beyond 5 miles outside of the neighborhood. All right. When you look at those homes, and based off of that data, that information, it tells you, hey, these homes are selling for $200,000, and then you see this ugly house on the corner for $60,000. You better get that house. That's a good deal. All right. And even those deals are good for buying and holding as well, if you're going to fix it up. It's another method called the BRRRR method, BRRRR. It stands for buying, rehab. You buy the property, you rehab it, you rent it out, you refinance it, and then you repeat the process over and over again. So what they're doing is they're buying these homes, like these ugly houses that need to be fixed up. They go ahead and rehab them. They're not going to flip it. They're not going to sell it. But what they will do is they will refinance the home to get the equity out of that property, like we talked about. Because guess what? If this house could be sold for $200,000 and you only put $110,000, then you have some equity to take out of it, that you could take out of it. And then you can put that lump sum of money that you get into another asset to purchase another property, and just keep doing it over and over and over again. That's called the BRRRR method. All right, so then the last one for the real estate investing terms is wholesaling. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of wholesaling, but wholesaling is a beautiful gem, especially for people who don't have any capital to get started with their real estate flipping or, buying and holding. Because a lot of times, guys, when you buy a home, even if you're using other people's money, you still got to come with some skin in the game. And I know it's a lot of these real estate gurus who are telling you that you don't have to use your own money. Well, if you're wholesaling, literally you don't. But when you're flipping, there is going to be some skin in the game. But I also teach women how to invest in real estate, how to get their real estate investment career started through our program, Women Flip Houses too. And so this is one of the techniques that they're taught, especially if they don't have the money to just go straight into flipping. It's wholesaling. So with wholesaling, basically what you would have to do is you just open up like an LLC. You can do that online. You open up an LLC or a corporation. And I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you which one is the best for you, but you can do that. It's only like $75 for a corporation. And I think it's $100 for an LLC. Okay, so you get your LLC, let's say it's called Real Estate 123, okay? Now, you don't have to have a real estate license to do this, but you're going to have to put in some work, right? So basically what you're doing is you're looking for people who want to sell their homes, but you want to find people who want to sell their homes who are in the category of like those houses we talked about, the little ugly house on the corner that they don't want to do any work to it. And, you know, even though it's an ugly house, but in that neighborhood, the houses are going for 200,000. That's the type of property as a wholesaler that you're looking for. So if you're going to do that, you have to be able to know how to determine the ARV, the after repair value. You have to be able to pull comparables, right? To see if this is a good property that you would want to wholesale. With wholesaling, you don't have any, no risk, no skin in the game. Basically, what you're doing is you're getting the property under contract, all right, with that seller. So you go to the seller, hey, Mr. Seller, I understand you want to sell your home for $60,000. My company, Real Estate 123, we purchase homes, you know, as is, and I would love to get your property under contract. So you actually doing a sale contract with the seller under your company, whatever it is, Real Estate ABC 123, and you get that property under contract. But then what you do is you take that contract and you're going to find an investor. So you may find somebody like me and you may say, hey, Danita, I have this property for sale. The seller is selling it, or you could say it's for sale, or I want to reassign the contract to you for $70,000. All right. So notice I said I'm reassigning the contract to the investor for $70,000, but the seller only wants $60,000. Okay. The seller is then going to get his $60,000. The investor, myself, will get the property for $70,000, but you as the wholesaler, you get $10,000 because you brought the deal together. That $10,000 fee is called an assignment fee. Okay, so when you got the property under contract with that seller, you're now the assignor of the contract. So now you can take that contract because it's yours and you can reassign the contract to me. So what does that mean for me? It means that whatever terms you came up with in the contract between you and that seller, I have to now take over those terms. So I'm the one who's actually coming to the table with the cash. You just put the deal together and you have made yourself $10,000. So this is a technique that we teach in Women Flip Houses too, especially the people who are just really trying to build. Like we have women in our program who have left their corporate America jobs because they started wholesaling and then got into flipping later on. So it is a very lucrative business. It's something that you do have to work, because guess what? You got to go out here, you got to get sellers, and then you also have to network and get buyers. You know, I tell them get in a lot of real estate investing networking groups. That's how you meet these people. They actually have groups that meet monthly. We also have our group, Women Flip Houses 2, is on Facebook. And we have over 2,000 women in that group. And so if you're a wholesaler and you have deals that you're trying to get reassigned, that you're trying to sell, you can put them, you know, in the group. With digital, with the way that we have, you know, the internet these days, it's just no excuse. It's so many, you can just reach so many more people than what we could before the internet. So in a nutshell, that is wholesaling. A home inspection, this is something that, you know, when you're buying a property, and I would even say, even when you're investing in a property, y'all, I have made so many mistakes in real estate investing, just with, you know, just learning from my mistakes. I would even say, even though with real estate investing, if you're going to even gut a property and rehab it, I would still say get a home inspection. Right? Get a home inspection before you buy it. And I would even say get a home inspection after you've rehabbed it, after you've done all the repairs, just to see, because what's going to happen when you sell that property, whoever you're going to sell it to, they're probably going to be a home buyer who's going to live in the house, and they're going to get a home inspection. And this is one of the things that you do during your due diligence period, right? So if you can anticipate what the types of repairs that they're already going to ask for, you can take care of them before they even get their home inspection. You should get one too. Most home inspections can be anywhere between $300 to $400. It's just depend upon the size of the house. And I put never waive your home inspection, but that's definitely more so for home buyers. You know, if you're going to actually live in the house for sure, you never want to waive your home inspection. The market that we just came out of, which was a very aggressive, volatile seller's market, people were waiving their home inspections. They were paying above the appraised value, coming to the table with money. Like I said, I've been in real estate since 2005, so it kind of reminded me of that time. During that time, the real estate market was crazy. So when I got in as a new agent, I did excellent because of the market that we were in. And so it just kind of reminded me of those times. So, you know, you don't want to waive your home inspection, and you don't want to pay over the appraised value. I mean, honestly, y'all, I was even telling my buyer clients, if you don't have to move right now, just wait it out, because the real estate market is cyclical. It goes in cycles. So now we're kind of leveling out a little bit. I wouldn't say it's a buyer's market, but we're definitely back to normalcy, where people are getting home inspections. They're not paying above the appraised value like they were. So that's something just to take into consideration. All right, so once you find your property and you are, you know, you've gone through the process, you've put your offer in, these are some of the things that your lender is going to ask for. Your lender will be in touch with you as soon as your offer is accepted. The lender will dig a little deeper during this process, and underwriters will review all the documents you've been required to obtain and make a final loan decision. And like I said before, the entire loan process could take 30 to 45 days. And like we talked about the appraisal, right? Your appraisal is ordered by your lender. And it's usually ordered after all the contingencies are removed. So that's after you've had your home inspection, you've had your due diligence period, and then your appraisal is going to be ordered. The appraisal determines the fair market value of the property. All right, so title insurance. It is so important for you to have title insurance on your property. It's two types of title insurance. You have your lender's title insurance and your owner's title insurance. And this is all paid at closing. This is not like a regular insurance policy where you're going to pay it every month. This policy is paid one time at closing, but it covers you for the entire time that you own that house, so that no one can come and say that they have a right to your property. There's no liens on the property, no heirs, no other heirs can come and say, hey, you know, this was my great aunt Betty's house, and I'm her niece, and I should be entitled to this property. That's what your title insurance is for. Because when you purchase a house, your real estate attorney or your title company, they're going to do a title search, and they're going to go back 100 years to make sure that there are no heirs that are supposed to have a right to this property, and that there are no liens on the property, to protect you and to protect your home. And then lastly, the walkthrough and the closing. The walkthrough is done the day before closing, and closing is attended by, you know, your agent. Sometimes the lender will also come as well, and you'll be there with your attorney and your title company. The walkthrough is when we walk through the property one last time before closing, because we want to make sure that the house is in the condition that it was in when you first saw it. And we also want to make sure that if there are any repairs that were supposed to be done after we did the home inspection, we may have negotiated with the seller to do some things to the property. We want to make sure those things were done before we sign on the dotted line. Okay, that's lender stuff. I do want to give you some of the most popular loan programs. You have a conventional mortgage, and again, this depends on the lender. Some of this depends on the lender, but the conventional mortgage, there's a 3% down payment for first-time home buyers and a minimum of 5% down for everyone else. Can use up to 45% of your income. That's when they're talking about that debt to income ratio. The FHA loan is a 3.5% down payment. So when we were talking about how having a large down payment is not necessarily true, you don't necessarily have to have a large down payment. The VA loan is a zero down payment. There is no down payment for that. And then you also have the VHDA loan, which is a first-time home buyer program. And you can also not have a down payment for that as well. So I just wanted to leave you guys with this 5 rules to live by in building wealth. And you guys can look these scriptures up. I won't read all of them tonight, but Luke 14:28 basically tells us that we should put ourselves on a budget, right? We should count the cost before we get started with anything. So even when it comes to buying real estate, when it comes to investing in real estate, or even purchasing your first home, like we said, you want to educate yourself first, right? Save and invest, Proverbs 21:20. 2 Corinthians 9:6, what you plant is what you will harvest. And 1 Corinthians 15:33, you will become who you hang out with. Have you just looked at the people that you hang out with, the people that you're the closest to? 9 times out of 10, you guys are probably making around the same amount of money. Y'all probably have some of the same interests. If you find yourself, hanging around people, one of the things that I have gotten to do, or gotten to start to adapt is I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be around people who can pour into me, and people that I can learn from, and people that I can grow from and grow with. So it's really important for you to watch who you're hanging around with and who you are connected to. And then 2 Corinthians 9:7 just tells us to be a cheerful giver.